6,000 health in the Elder Dragon.
Oh, he's right.
So not gonna land. Arrow flashes back away to stay alive. He's gonna stay as safe as he was with cast. Conquan now buying time in the front.
In order to be a top-level AD carry, there's more to team fights than just staying in the backline and letting the fight unfold. To quote Doublelift, one of the marks of being a great AD carry is having the courage to play on a knife's edge. Players that know their limits and push themselves have the power to decide an entire game. This week on The Breakdown, we're going to look at an important moment in a team fight between Phoenix One and Team Liquid, and we're going to pay close attention to Arrow. Let's get into it. 49 minutes into Game 2, Team Liquid are behind in gold, but because their composition favors team fighting, TL start up the Elder Dragon in an attempt to either secure it with Callista Rend or turn onto Phoenix One. This forces Phoenix One to react, and with a composition that is built for skirmishing, they need to use their biggest team fighting tool perfectly. With Flash, Mercurial Scimitar, and ideally Thresh's Lantern for safety, Arrow casts Ambush and begins his approach. Here, he needs to focus on three things: Braum's positioning to avoid having his damage blocked by Unbreakable, hitting as many carries as possible, and watching out for all of the CC from TL. But Arrow isn't completely alone on his mission. As he walks up in stealth, Xpecial lands a death sentence and Flay onto Conquan's Braum. This pulls Braum off to the side and puts him in a position where he can't immediately respond to Arrow's angle of approach. Arrow now only has two things to focus on, and notices a prime opportunity to hit multiple carries. He comes out of stealth ahead of his team and brings both Slushy and Piglet to half HP with 2 attacks from Spray and Pray. Now, Arrow has to outplay the incoming CC. I went over this play with Doublelift, and he said it was lit. And the reason it was such a great play from Arrow was because as an ADC in a team fight where you're going to blow Flash anyway, you should bait as many abilities as you can and play in front of your team, and that's exactly what Arrow does. As Lorlo walks towards him, almost ready to transform, Rainover casts Body Slam, Slushy moves the ball, and Piglet preps Fate's Call as Arrow flashes to retreat. Arrow then runs around the corner, placing himself against the wall where only a perfect explosive cast could potentially move him back out into the open. I asked Arrow about his use of Mercurial Scimitar here, and he said he was trying to be predictive, but he should have used it reactively. In the intensity of the moment, he had forgotten that Gragas used Flash previously, so he used Mercurial Scimitar to cover that window where he wanted to flash away. And although Arrow didn't remove any hard CC, he actually saves himself with Mercurial Scimitar anyway. Arrow was hit by Lorlo's Frozen Mallet a fraction of a second before he unknowingly removes the debuff. His movement speed drops to 294, but he never feels it as Mercurial counters the slow and gives him a movement speed burst that brings him to 545. This means he moved an extra 251 units in that 1 second that he wouldn't have otherwise, and that would have put him in a position for the explosive cask to potentially knock him back into Team Liquid. This is the edge of the knife that the best AD carries dare to play on. As an ADC, you have the potential to do the most damage, but also die the quickest and from the smallest of things. Because of this play, Arrow survives, and he successfully resets the fight by positioning himself on the backline. As Arrow makes it away, Conquan throws himself into the bulk of Phoenix One using Fate's Call, and follows up with Glacial Fissure onto 3 enemies. But there's no follow-up. This is the reward for Arrow's play. His 2 auto attacks have a lingering effect on the rest of this team fight. He decimated the health bars of Slushy, Piglet, and Lorlo right at the start, and baited out key cooldowns from Rainover, who's now unable to follow up. Conquan drops, and TL back off into a choke point. As Phoenix One advance after the kill to continue the fight, they make a mistake. Slushy finds a great shockwave opportunity, and he chunks 3 members of Phoenix One to almost critical HP. But none of them are carries. Ryu is down below, and Arrow is back in stealth, looking to only hit frontliners from now on because his cooldowns are down. After not committing to Conquan's engage, TL now overcommit to Slushy's. Rainover body slams, and Lorlo jumps in with Flash and Gnar, knocking the 3 members of P1 into the wall to begin layering a CC combo. But as Lorlo and Rainover go forward onto the tanks of P1, Ryu goes for the unprotected backline, getting Slushy's Flash and zoning away the 2 carries who are still wounded from Arrow's play. Arrow's move forced Piglet and Slushy to position so far back for fear of being finished off by P1 that they haven't been able to fully contribute when their team lands these massive team-fighting ultimates. Noticing this, Redemption comes out on the backline to finally reverse some of the effects of the spray and pray, but the positional damage has already been done. With Ari and Rek'Sai now having the chance to reach the backline, both TL carries die, and the fight is cleaned up. Looking back, this fight was practically over from the start. Arrow played it on a knife's edge. He positioned aggressively, he dealt damage to the backline, and he baited out key cooldowns that affected Team Liquid's formation. He was lucky to QSS the Frozen Mallet, but he put himself in a position to win the game. His first 2 auto attacks created a massive advantage that Phoenix 1 would not have had if he had just played it safe. Hey everyone, Zyrene here. If you see a play that you think deserves a breakdown, tweet at me at LOLZyrene and use the hashtag #TheBreakdown.